morning, everybody. So even if last night's lecture wasn't a part of the women's retreat, but we enjoyed thoroughly, and especially after the lecture, chit chatting. That's what she said. Chit chatting with Mataji. So today's lecture for us will be Holy Mother as the Ideal Bhakti, and this retreat is this will be our 7th year, and the first time we were having a women's retreat, and I can see that it was a success. So most probably we will have a lot more in the coming years. So please support us, you women. Our Ashrama. So now Mother talks about Holy Mother as the Ideal Bhakti, and Ma is Krishnaprana Mataji. She is the head of the Santa Barbara Vedanta Center. Thank you all. I hope you enjoy.
Let's say the in charge, in place. Swami Sarvadevananda is the head of Santa Barbara. We are still under the men's order. So he is the head of Santa Barbara. It's the Vedanta Society of Southern California. But somehow when you live long enough and stick around long enough, seniority happens and you're stuck with the job. And that's what happens. So, today we will talk about Holy Mother, whom all of you know. And we'll talk about Bhakti. Now, every single one of us, we say quite cavalierly, "Oh, I love this, I love that, I hate this, I hate that. I love ice cream. I love to go for a walk. I love my friends, I love my family." Is it all the same emotion? Is the emotion that you feel for ice cream the same as the one that you feel for your husband? I think it is. But I think what the difference is the intensity. Anytime we say we like something, we're tapping into that feeling of loving it. Now, intensity and degree is what changes, because what we're really stating is that divine emotion of love. Swami Vivekananda, when he was living in Pasadena, and he would get up from the table because he wanted to go out and have a smoke, the only way they could keep him at the table was say, "Swamiji, we're having ice cream." And he would come immediately back to the table because he loved ice cream. There was a saying, "I scream for ice cream, you scream for ice cream, we all scream for ice cream." And he loved chocolate ice cream. So, I don't know what you do at your puja, but we always have to serve him chocolate ice cream for his Titi puja. Love is the simplest way to adapt our behavior and change it. If we think about that, what makes you change the way you're behaving? What makes you change a habit? What makes you start a new habit? You have a desire to do something, or a desire for something, or a desire for someone. And we change our behavior in order to fulfill our desire. So that is the foundation of Bhakti Yoga. We will change our behavior and change our actions if we direct that love that we feel naturally to God. Anytime you love someone or you love something, you want to do it. You want to be with them. You want to take care of them. You're just happy taking care of whoever it is that you love. So if you direct it to God, to Ramakrishna, to Holy Mother, to whatever your Ishta is. And I'll tell you right now, even in the convent, we don't know who our Ishtas are. None of us know. We all do Ramakrishna Puja, but we've never talked about that. We don't talk about religion or politics. But the love is the same. And we're willing to change the way we behave, because our feeling is, I want you to be happy. If you being happy pleases me, it makes me feel good. I'm happy when you're happy. My happiness does not depend upon you, but I'm happy when I can make you happy. I love you. I don't want you to do anything for me. I just want you to be there so I can love you. As soon as we start saying, I want you to do this or that, then we've gotten into bargaining. And it's shopkeeping. If we have real love, we don't have any expectations of return or anything like that. Kind of, it's like loving a cat. They're not going to respond to you when you want them to. They're going to do their own thing. You love them, take care of them, keep them happy, and hopefully, once in a while, they will come up to you and say, I like you too. But you can't count on it. A dog is a entirely different matter. You love them, they love you. They love you no matter what you do to them. They're the ideal of showing how we should love. You can be mean to them, you can forget to feed them, you can do all kinds of things. They love you no matter what. Like Swami Shivananda said, he had dogs, and he said, these are my dogs. And he pointed to the picture of Ramakrishna, he said, I am his dog. They are a personification of unconditional love. And seriously, it doesn't matter what I forgot to feed my dog the other morning, and she sat there patiently, didn't even beg. We were having all the Swamis, and all of a sudden I looked at her like 2 hours later, and I went, oh my God, I forgot to feed you. And she was just, okay. It's okay. The highest forms of love are expressed in song, and I understand quite a few of her singers. Do you sing Mirabai songs? Do you sing Surdas songs? Those are the highest expressions of love for the Lord. Now, when I first went to India, I sat in Bharat Maharaj's office. He was the mother of the Math at that time. He had been appointed by Swami Premananda. And all I was trying to do was stay awake until 9 o'clock to eat dinner. That's all I was trying to do. I was just like... And he had music going all the time. He had a thermometer up on the wall too, and every night I looked at it, and it said 100 degrees, 100% humidity. 100 degrees, 100% humidity. This went on for a week, and finally I said to him, and he didn't speak English, I said, it's broken, isn't it? And he went, no. 100 degrees, 100% humidity. Then he would say, he had very broken English, and he said, you like the music? And I went, yes. He says, what is it? And I said, well, frankly, it sounds like Indian movie music. And he said, it is. And he had it on every night, playing the radio. And he got across that all the love songs in the Indian movies, when you direct them to God, they're beautiful songs. all of our rock and roll songs that were love songs, if you make the object God, then they're beautiful songs because they're expressing a longing for God. That's just a change in our attitude. It doesn't take anything more than that, a change of direction, which is what Bhakti Yoga is. Take every emotion that you're feeling, the loving emotions, and direct them to God. So, you're going to have to put up with a couple of poems. Surdas. Where else but with you can my heart get peace and joy? Just as a bird living on a ship may fly out far, but returns to the ship always. Surdas is one of my favorite poets. And then Hafiz. Are you familiar with Hafiz? I'm happy even before I have reason. I am full of light even before the sky can greet the sun or the moon. Dear companions, we have been in love with God for so very, very long. What can Hafiz do but dance forever? No, I mean, to me that's beautiful. It doesn't, we have been. And then Govinda Chandradas, hark, a song, truth is sacred. The tune rises up full melodious and whispers in the heart of heart. Love is God, God is love. I mean, I used to read the poets all the time. I've kind of dropped that now. But I love the religious poetry that they sing to God and they're longing for God. And it's in every single religion. It's in the Christian religion, it's in Sufi. Sufis are some of the best poets in their longing for God. There's many women saints in Sufism, Rabia. The songs that they sang about their love of God just tear your heart. They're so beautiful. When we can get that emotion from reading these things, it helps us direct them to our Ishta. Because it doesn't matter which Ishta they have. God is God. So, Holy Mother, now we think back on her life. The Ideal Bhakti directs everything to God. Every action of their day, every thought in their mind, every emotion they have. And we look at Holy Mother's life, and she was 8 years old when I think Ramakrishna and she were married. I think it was 8. And she had been chosen by him. She knew he would be her husband. She, of course, stayed in the village, didn't go to live with him or anything, because that was the custom in India in those days, to marry young. And when she finally, at, I believe it was 16 or 18, heard that her husband was crazy, mad Gadai, she wanted to go to Dakshineshwar to see how crazy he was, what had happened, because she had only known a very loving, kind person who had greeted her as a child, and that's all she knew. So she asked her father and went to Dakshineshwar and found the same person that she had known. Someone loving, kind, caring for her, wanting her best, her to be the best. He asked her, why have you come? And she said, to help you in your spiritual path. This to me is an expression of absolute love. I just want you to have what you want. I ask nothing of you. Well, she lived there for 10 years. She finally got to Dakshineshwar and lived for 10 years in the Nahabad. Now, have any of you read Swami Chaitanyananda's new book on Holy Mother? That has more details than I've ever read about her. And it's fantastic. I mean, Ramakrishna taught her how to cook. He taught her how to do everything. he took her, he shaped her, he educated her in everything that was necessary. She lived, how many of you have been to Dakshina and have seen her room? I mean, that's the smallest thing I ever encountered. This rug is bigger than her room. Excuse me. And she lived there with oftentimes 3 women. Literally, it's like 6 feet around. And they had pots and pans hanging from the ceiling. And they were cooking there. And I don't even know how they fit in the space. Because personally, I know we couldn't. And they had live fish hanging above them because he liked fish every day. Okay, so you look at this and you think, really? And most people who came to Dakshineshwar never knew she was there. They never saw her. She did all of the cooking. She took care of all the women guests. She took care of everyone. Now, does this sound like our ideal of a marriage? Most of us would want we want things a little more even and fair. You know, if I'm taking care of you, I should have at least a nice house to do it in. She asked nothing. She was complete in loving him. Now, he adored her too. He worshipped her as the Divine Mother. So there was that. And he did the Shrdashi Puja with her as the image, you know, as the object of worship. And if I remember correctly, that was when her spirituality was awakened, her knowledge of herself as the Divine Mother. She was not, however, someone who didn't stand up for her principles of her identity. There was a woman one time who was of questionable character. And Holy Mother was taking the meal to Sri Ramakrishna. And the woman said, "Mother, may I take it? I want to serve him." And she handed the tray over, and the woman presented it to Ramakrishna, and he said, "I can't eat it." And she said, "You have to." And he said, he ate it. And she said, whenever anyone calls me mother, I cannot refuse them. So she knew who she was, as well as him knowing who he was. They were 2 sides of the same coin. That was it. People said when you knew those that were not fortunate enough to meet Ramakrishna, who came like Swami Pravrajika, he met Holy Mother, and he said basically they're exactly the same. The love, the power, everything is there. Now he was a young man, like 13, 14 when he met her, and he was never one to. Swami Prabhupada was from a village, Vishnupur, which is very close to Jairamati. And he would go over to Jairamati and he saw this monk surrounded by women. And he was very critical. He thought that was just not the way things should be. That's a monk. And he left. And he was curious, so he came back. And the monk said, "Would you like to meet the Holy Mother?" And he knew who it was because he had read some. And he said yes. And he went in and touched her feet and said he kept coming back. And do you know why he kept coming back? Because he had a tingling sensation when he touched her feet. And that's what he came for. It made no bones about it. He said, you know, it was just... And she said to him the first time, "I have seen you before." And he said, "No, Mother, this is the first time I've ever come." And he said, well, she knew who I was before I knew who I was. Now, Ramakrishna had told her she had wanted, as any normal Indian woman would want, children, family, and Ramakrishna told her, you will have more children than you know what to do with. It was kind of okay, but we're both celibate and we're not going to change that. And she had more children than she knew what to do with. She had children from all over the world that came to her. And she honestly treated all of them as if they were her beloved children. She greeted the Western women who came, Swamiji's women who came, as if they were her children. Sister Vedanta let me see, wrote to her, and she said, "Dear Mother, you are full of love. It's not a flushed and violent love like ours and like the world's, but a gentle peace that brings good to everyone and wishes ill to no one. It's a golden radiance full of joy." So she made everyone feel like that. And at that time, we have to think back, because everything has to be taken in cultural context. There was a huge caste system firmly in place in the villages. Firmly in place. And she ate with the Western women who came. She shared food with them, which was totally against caste, because they were malicious. And didn't bother her at all. Would stand down the entire village, because they were her children also. She said they are the embodiment of the white people speaking a language I do not understand that Ramakrishna had seen in vision. So, to me, this is an example of supreme bhakti, where you look on every single being in the world as divinity and one with you, where you don't see the differences. One of the reasons I think we were so anxious about civil rights is we grew up seeing differences. And sometimes we can't help it. You know, it's what you notice. But when we get to the point where we don't see differences, or we just see God, then we will have made tremendous spiritual progress. And we all think, well, Holy Mother, I mean, well, that was her life. I mean, you know, she was who she was. She had a terrible life, if we look at the externals. I mean, her family was really not good. She had her family berated her. They expected things of her. They asked her for money. They didn't think she took care of them. She had Radha, who was crazy. I mean, how many of us could maintain absolute calm and love with all of that pulling at us? And the family were always fighting. You know, one of the sisters didn't like the other sister. The brothers were blaming her for frittering away money at the family farm, for want of anything, giving the patty away to all the people who were coming. What are you doing? You're giving away all of our, you know. So she put up with all of that and maintained calm and loved them and continued doing what she was doing. To me, that is bhakti in action, asking absolutely nothing in return, but knowing that what you're doing is right and unselfish. You're not doing it for you, you're doing it for everyone else. She went for 10, I think it was almost 10 years after Ramakrishna died. He told her to go to Kamarpukur. And this new book of Swami Chaitanananda's hints at how hard her life was. There was no one taking care of her. The brother who was supposed to take care of her decided not to finance her. So she had no money, she had no way of getting food, really. And she never said anything. Now, the other thing I found out when I read that book is Balaram's wife, Neelam Babu's wife, came and saw the dire straits she was in and went back to Calcutta and told their husbands. And they said, well, they told the young monks. And immediately everyone went, oh my God, we can't let her be in this kind of dire poverty. And started taking care of her. And with that, her mission in life started. And she became the mother of all. Everyone who came to her, all of the monks that were there. And thousands came. Thousands and thousands. As Swamiji came to the United States, Westerners came. Indians came by the drove. And she maintained the same equanimity, calm, and love that she had had as a young woman. We have the opportunity of reading about her life, hearing about it, and trying to emulate it. Now, I admit she was the Divine Mother, so she had a little edge on us. We have to work a little harder at it. But if we can think of that, no one is a stranger. The entire world is your own. Even in the throes of Gandhi's movement, when she told people to go get English cloth for some of her sons, and they said, no, Mother, we get Cutty because we are for Indian independence. She says, no, no, no. The English are my children too. We can't discriminate. So if we could try to emulate that, try to see everyone as, if not children, at least brothers and sisters, we would be happier people. We would lessen any kind of fear that we had or separation that we had. Because it's only in separation that we really have unhappiness or loneliness. When we separate ourselves, we isolate ourselves. Then we make ourselves miserable. As long as we're feeling that extreme feeling of love, everyone's your friend. No one can do anything that will bother you. I mean, you're happy no matter what. You really are. You can fall over and you're still just laugh about it. And we've all felt that. We have. So part of our spiritual life is trying to get a hold of that feeling and make it our own so that we can keep it. Not just to let it happen when it happens and enjoy it, but to take hold and say, I'm going to make this mine so that I can feel this way all the time. And I think it becomes easier and easier as you practice. I mean, anything with practice becomes easier, including exercise. The first time I tried to do a push-up, it was a disaster. After 4 months of it, I could do one. But, you know, anything becomes easier with practice. And if we practice loving people, trying to see ourselves in them, trying to see, we're very kind to ourselves. We all, as one friend said, we cut ourselves a lot of slack. We do things, we react, but we know why we were feeling that way, and so we say that I had a reason. And this was my reason that I reacted. I had a stomach ache, so when someone said something to me, if we cut every single person who said something to us that same kind of slack, they're having a bad day. They must be having a problem. They're just like me. It doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with how they're feeling inside. Then 2/3 of our problems would be gone. One time there was a story about the Buddha, and someone came with a gift for him. And it was, he did not accept the gift. They handed him this basket, and he said, no, he didn't accept it. And he said, who does the gift remain with then? Where is the gift if you don't accept it? It remains with the giver. So if someone hands you, this goes back to this morning, hands you praise and you don't accept it, then it remains with them. If they hand you blame or they say something that hurts you, if you don't accept it personally, it remains with them. If someone said, it's their karma what they do. It's your karma how you react. So the only person you have any kind of control over is yourself. That's the only person you can change. That's the only person that you can look at and say, I would like to be like this. And you can work on that. And that's what bhakti helps us do. If we direct the love to God, God comes to us, whether, it just happens, and fills you with that love that makes you love everyone else who's around. If we separate ourselves, and usually it's ego, pride, that separates us. To go, we had, I don't know about in India, but in America, we always say, there's no one who can push your buttons better than your parents because they installed them. And my parents were 20 and 22 years older than I was. So at 60, I was taking care of them, right? And I was driving my dad around, and he was still telling me how to drive. Still telling me, turn here, don't do that, step on the brake. And I'm going, I've been doing this now for 50 years, can you let go? Turn right here. And then I thought, no, he can't, because to him, I'm always going to be 15 years old, just getting behind the wheel. He can't help it, and I can't change him. So I may as well just settle back and follow directions. And we were both happy. And then pretty soon, when I did that and didn't say, Dad, I know how to drive. Pretty soon he would go, well, you've been doing this a long time. I guess you know this better. So we both changed. But by not reacting in the way I had reacted from the time I was 17 on, he changed too. And we can do this. But this is what I call bhakti in action. It's not, I loved him. I loved my dad. So I just quit fighting with him. He wasn't hurting me. He was trying to do the best he knew for me still. And parents do that. And as your your parent's child, you're always going to be 5 years old, no matter how old you get. You might get to 20, but you're still going to be their little child, and they love you dearly. And they're going to treat you as if you hadn't lived 45 years or 50 years, like you're still 5. And they're going to protect you or try. So it's very, as they say, no one pushes the buttons better than your parents, because they installed them. And they do know where they know every one of them. And you know every one of theirs. Whether you want to or not, but you do. And you know how to get to them too. We all do. We know the things that will ignite an encounter, if we want one. But we have to grow beyond that. That's what our whole spiritual quest is about. It's becoming unified, not diversified. One with everyone. Swami used to say that everyone, really, no matter where they are from, no matter what their education, even the robber and the killer, want exactly the same thing out of life. They want happiness, they want to love someone, and they want to be loved. And they take different directions to achieve those goals. And some of them don't make any sense to what I call a normal person. But somehow in their mind, that's all they're seeking. Peace, freedom, love, happiness. And they may be going about it so wrongly. And in today's society, we have quite a problem with drugs in Santa Barbara. And you see all these young people that are getting so involved in drugs that are so dangerous. And all they're trying to do is be happy and to find love. And unfortunately, so many of them die before they have a chance to get over it. It's a very, very serious problem, and we try and find ways to help them, but without some kind of training when they're young, that there is hope in this world, there is love in this world, there is a chance of peace, and you are divine. They don't feel that. And this is what I feel the Bhakti Yoga, what Holy Mother did for people. She had a Muslim devotee, Ahmed, who was a robber. But he loved her dearly. And he used to come to her. And she would say, my son has come, feed him. Well, her sister did not want to break caste, so Holy Mother asked her to feed Ahmed. And the sister, instead of serving him, threw food at him. And she said, no, he is my son as much as Sard is. Now that was Swami Sardanand. And Ahmed would come when he was not in jail. He was put in jail a lot because he was a thief. And she never once judged him for that. She'd say, Ahmed, I have not seen you in so long. And he'd say, well, I've been in jail. And she'd say, I'm so glad you're here now. So this to me is bhakti in action. This is and pertinent in today's world, because it was even more anathema in that day and age in India. So we just have to try and look at her life and take it as a real lesson on what we can do. Because every one of us has the capability of love. I've seen that because here I arrive as a stranger and you're all just like, you're all extremely loving people. And I know that. Swami Swananda told me, oh, you'll like the people there. Now I said, Swami, Pittsburgh? You bought a house in Pittsburgh? He said, yes. Swami Sarvadevananda also told me, he says, you'll love the devotees there. Well, they're right. They're right. And because I think in all of us being in Vedanta, we have expanded our family. We have totally expanded our family. I mean, arriving here, I didn't feel like I had walked into people I didn't know. I really didn't. I mean, you have the same shrine we have. Everything is basically the same. We're all doing the same thing. And so there's already a total basis of understanding. Total and complete basis of understanding. We're all going in the same direction. We're all looking for the same things. And it makes for comfort and familiarity. You're going to make that go back up, aren't you? I keep...
Because the downstairs, they are listening.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't stay.
I know, because I keep wishing it down. Did you not know that you can have telekinetic powers and wish those things away? So, to me, the Holy Mother is the ideal bhakti. Every ounce of her life shows it in every action. I mean, yeah, it just does. I have more poetry. Everyone, have any of you, well, I guess it's not just Gretz. France always says Holy Mother's last message to her disciples as part of their, before every meal, I think. I think that's when they do it. If you want peace of mind, my child, remember no one is a stranger, the entire world is your own. That's truncated, because I don't remember them precisely. But the other thing, this was what Swami Sardananda, and as you know, he took care of her until she passed away. Swami Yogananda had taken care of her, which was also very different. But she honestly felt these monks were her children. They were her sons. And she treated them all as though they were her sons. Now, there was a funny story where she said, "Go buy new cloth for all of my sons, the monks, but get a silk one for Rocco." And the person said, "Well, Mother, why aren't you treating them all the same?" And she says, "Well, they're all my sons, but Rocco is my son." So, you know, all of these things, and none of them, they all felt that, all the monks felt that too. You know, Rocco is Ramakrishna's spiritual child. We're all his children, but he's his child. No jealousy, no competition, nothing, which would be in normal families. I don't know, because I was an only child, and there is no competition. There is no to anything that you ask. Everything is negotiable. When you have, I've learned now, being in the convent, that when you have brothers and sisters, No means no, and things are not necessarily negotiable. And I still operate on the old thing, everything's negotiable. So Swami say something and I go, okay, and then I negotiate. And they kind of, okay. And we continue negotiations until basically I get my way. Or not, but mostly yes. So Swami Sardananda, another bhakti, when you take a look at what he did, he sat outside her door at Udbodhan, screening all the people, protecting her, at the same time writing the great master. As he sat there, he wrote the entire great master sitting outside her door. And that's a formidable book. He said in his, I don't remember exactly where he said it, but anyway, he said there are 3 shrines that stand as memorials to the Holy Mother, all erected by the loving care of her beloved child, Swami Sardananda. One is the Udbodhan, and I think many of you have been to the Udbodhan. The only place in the order that they do not say Brahmarpanam. Everyone just eats. Jai Ma, it's Mother's house. The second, a white temple, stands on the bank of the Ganges at Bellarmont, where her body was consigned to the fire. And the third, another temple, white marble, has been erected at the site of her birth in Jairambati. From the top of this temple flutters a flag emblazoned with the simple word Ma, reminding her devotees from far and near of her repeated assurance that she would stand by them till their hour of liberation, and recalling to them her last words of benediction, I am the mother of the virtuous, I am the mother of the wicked. Whenever you are in distress, say to yourself, I have a mother. And with that, she stated the entire reason for her being on earth. For everyone to know they always had a mother to go to. In any kind of trouble, doesn't matter whether you're good, bad, or indifferent, you have her to go to. Now, when I first went to Bellarmont, everyone was like, well, we have to talk to her. The second time I went to Bellarmont, everyone's going, no, ask Ma. She's much easier to deal with. So, things change. But we all have to know that no matter what we ask her, or who we put in her lap for protection, is taken care of. And that's the ideal of bhakti in action. She will take care of every one of us, no matter what. And we don't have to feel distressed or anxious or worry. If you can honestly believe that you can put every trouble you have, just hand it over to her and say, here, you deal with it. It takes a lot of the anxiety out of life. And it takes a long time, sometimes, for some, to realize that she really does take care of it. I can tell you a couple of incidences just lately at our convent. I told you that Devi Prana has multiple sclerosis, and she's becoming more disabled. So she fell before, oh God, when did she fall? About 6 months ago she took a fall, and it's right before Durga Puja. And we were doing Durga Puja and we didn't have time to take her. We said, we should take you to the emergency. And she said, no, I'm okay. Well, she wasn't okay and she was in terrible pain. And one of her friends came and started railing at us. You've got to take her to the emergency. You've got to do this. And finally, I just looked at her friend and said, you take her. We've got 200 people to feed. And so her friend took her and found out she had cracked her pelvis, which is very, very painful. And she was put in a care facility, which she hated. And she was there for physical therapy for about 6 weeks. And she wanted to get home in the worst possible way. And we were going, we have to get her home, but who's going to take care of her? Because she needs someone to watch her, like, be there at night and watch her. And it was not possible for us. And I was walking the dog. I love to walk my dog. Walking the dog across the parking lot. And this woman that we had met and had been coming to the temple occasionally for 1.5 years, she came up to me and I said, well, hi, where have you been? And she said, oh, I went up to Oregon for a few months, but I'm back now. How's Devi Prana? And I said, ooh, she cracked her pelvis and she's supposed to come home and we don't have a caregiver for her. And this woman looked at me and she said, well, I don't have anything that I'm committed to right now. I could do that for a while. And I went, okay. We brought her down and we all talked to her and she moved in and took care of Devi Prana for about 4 months. And she wanted to get on with her life. And I was up in the bookstore one day and this other woman came along and she was buying stuff, just a customer. And Wendy and I were talking. And she left the bookstore and came back and she said, I have this feeling like I should leave my card. I am a caregiver. And I went, well, how much do you charge and what's the deal? And she was, oh, well, it's negotiable. I've just quit working in Arizona and I don't know, I want to get started here. And do you know any place to live around the temple? And I went, well, not right now. And I went down to Devi Prana and I handed her the card and I said, here's a potential. And sure enough, the first woman went off on a 2 or 3 week vacation. And the other woman came in and moved in. And she's still there. But I mean, due to no effort on our part, this huge problem was solved. And all we can say is it's Holy Mother working, because it was not our, no matter how much we had been looking around and checking places, nothing was coming up. So I have now a very firm belief that Mother takes care of everything, if I don't try and interfere. Sometimes I still try and interfere, but we all do that, so. But we can all accept that she is the mother of everyone and will take care of us. And if we can love her like she loved everyone else, that's all we have to do. So, now, I heard there was a couple singers here. They could sing one song. Someone could sing one song. Who are the singers? You're a singer, you're a singer. Why don't you each sing one song? Okay?
Can we sing together?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it together.
Yeah.
You do and we will follow. We will repeat.